I'm Judge Andrew Napolitano, and this is Freedom Watch. On this show, we shine a light into the dark places that the government would rather stay secret. Today, we bring you a disturbing story that major media outlets have been reluctant to cover. On June 9th, 2006, 3 prisoners at Guantanamo Bay who were never charged with a crime died suddenly and violently in the night. They had cloth shoved down their throats, and at least 2 of them had masks covering their faces, presumably to prevent the cloths from being ejected. Official reports claim that after stuffing the suffocating rags into their mouths and tying on their own masks, the 3 prisoners tied sheets around their necks and hanged themselves. All of them, according to the government, performed this feat simultaneously, although they were not in adjoining cells. Joining me now is Scott Horton, a writer for Harper's Magazine and an attorney specializing in human rights laws and the law of armed conflict. Mr. Horton is the author of an article about these deaths called The Guantanamo Suicides. Scott, thank you for joining me on Freedom Watch.
Great to be with you, Judge.
Did they kill themselves or were they murdered?
Well, I think as it stands right now, we don't know. I mean, clearly these were homicides. I think the real question is whether there was a negligent homicide that occurred, whether they died as a result of some sort of procedure that was performed on them, probably outside of the cell block in which the official count claims they died. And the reason for concern about the official account comes from prison guards who were on duty, and specifically the sergeant of the guard, Joe Hickman, the man who was responsible for guard service that evening,
right?
Who says he observed things that just cannot be reconciled with the official story.
Okay, before we get to what Sergeant Hickman told you, is there evidence that they were tortured or beaten before their deaths?
Well, certainly the father of one of the deceased, who is himself a general in the Saudi Arabian police, says he examined the body and he saw evidence of torture, and he's convinced of that.
What is the evidence that he saw?
The evidence are physical marks on the body that he says are consistent with torture. They're not found in the official pathological reports.
Were their teeth broken?
Yes.
What would the military's explanation be for that? If they were going to kill themselves, why would they break their own teeth?
The military says that cloth was extracted from the mouths after rigor mortis had set in, and they had to use extreme physical force to do it, and that caused the broken teeth as well as the hemorrhaging in the mouth area. Swiss pathologist who looked at it was not so certain of that.
Sergeant Hickman, what did he tell you that caused you to lose some sleep?
Well, he says that he was observing that evening, about 7 o'clock in the evening, as a paddy wagon came by and extracted in 3 separate trips 3 prisoners from cell block A, which is where these 3 prisoners were held. And these prisoners were taken to a secret facility that the guards referred to as Camp No, that's located just outside of Camp America. And he says that same paddy wagon returned about 11 o'clock, backed up to the detainee treatment facility, which is, of course, where these 3 bodies ultimately wound up. And he speculates that, of course, that these 3 people are the same prisoners who died. They're the only ones who were unaccounted for.
You're not only a journalist, you're a lawyer. You know what the law is. You know how investigations work. Where do you think they died? In their cell blocks? Or did they die at Camp No and were their bodies returned to the cell blocks?
I think it's highly unlikely that they died in the cell block.
Why do you think that?
Because under the procedures there, they were subject to examination every 10 minutes. And according to the official report, the bodies were hanging there for 2 hours dead without being observed. It's almost impossible. And we also have reports from prison guards who went in and checked, who said that the cloth that was used to hang them was not present in the cells at 5 o'clock that evening, for instance.
Did Dr. Michael Baden, a world-renowned pathologist, and in the interest of full disclosure, a colleague and friend of mine, give you an opinion about the nature of the broken bones in the necks, as to whether those broken bones were consistent with homicide or suicide?
Yes, he said that one of the bodies had a broken hyoid bone, and that was consistent with strangulation, not hanging. So that's another unexplained inconsistency.
All right, big picture now. I mean, you've painted something that mandates investigation under the law and under common decency. Big picture. Why would the U.S. military want to murder detainees? They already have them under absolute control in a Devil's Island-like facility. I've been there. The physical plant is excellent as prisons go. The morality and the law is obviously another story.
Well, moreover, the U.S. had decided it was going to release these 3 prisoners, which is another reason why you can't imagine why they would murder them. I think that's an unlikely scenario. The more likely scenario is that there was some procedure that was applied to them at this Camp No facility, probably negligently applied, that resulted in their suffocation. It probably had to do with stuffing these rags down their throat. And we have one other prisoner death that seems to be associated with the same procedure.
Well, what conceivable procedure could there be for stuffing rags down somebody's throat if you're not trying to kill them? What would they be trying to accomplish?
Muffling the voice so they couldn't scream out.
While something else was being done to them.
I think that's right.
Scott Horton, it's a terrible story, but we thank you for bringing it to us. Thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.